So, what happens when a simple foggy morning somehow becomes the spark for a global conspiracy theory? Well, today we are unpacking the truly strange case of Fogvid 24. It's a story that shows just how fast fear can blur the line between what's real and what's just hysteria online. All right, let's get into it.
So this is pretty much where it all began. You wake up, it's a seemingly normal morning, but the whole atmosphere just feels a little bit off. A simple, eerie image just like this, well, that was the tiny seed that would eventually grow into a massive online panic.
Okay, so the shimmering fog. What exactly was this stuff? Let's break down what people were actually seeing, both on their phones and right outside their windows.
See, on the surface, it looked like, well, just fog. But online, this new name started trending like crazy, Fogvid 24. And think about that name for a second. It's a mashup of fog and COVID. Right away, that gave this normal weather event a really sinister, almost biological feel to it. All of a sudden, the story wasn't about what you could see, it was about what you couldn't.
And you gotta understand, this wasn't just happening in one small town. Nope. By late 2024, videos and weird reports were popping up all over North America and even parts of the UK. The whole thing was just fueled by that lightning-fast sharing you see on platforms like TikTok and Instagram, where one single compelling video can literally circle the entire globe in just a few hours.
So, how in the world did a few weird weather videos escalate into a full-blown conspiracy theory? Well, the answer is in the stories that started spreading like wildfire online. These were the whispers on the web.
I mean, the theories just escalated with breathtaking speed. One minute it's fog, the next, people are saying it's a toxic agent. Oh, and it's not natural? No. It was engineered by some secret government cabal. Some people claimed it was packed with smart dust to spy on us. Others went even further, suggesting extraterrestrial tech was involved. And here's the kicker, the really crucial part. All these claims got linked to reports of flu-like symptoms, which created this very real, very physical sense of danger.
Now, here's the thing that made the whole theory so sticky. It wasn't all just made up. Conspiracy theorists latched onto a piece of real history to anchor the fear. They started pointing to something called Operation Sea Spray, which, by the way, was a totally real, declassified U.S. military experiment from the 1950s where they sprayed bacteria over San Francisco to see how it would spread. By weaving in a real, kind of scary event like that, they made all the fantastic claims about Fogvid 24 feel, well, chillingly plausible.
But just as the online panic was hitting a fever pitch, a different set of voices started to weigh in. It was time for science to finally enter the scene.
And this, right here, just perfectly illustrates the disconnect. So on one side, you have the myth, toxic smart dust. On the other side, you have reality, meteorologists explaining that it's just seasonal water vapor. The myth talks about this eerie glowing haze. The reality? Just a simple optical illusion from streetlights hitting the moisture in the air. And that scary engineered pathogen? Well, guess what? The timing lined up perfectly with the start of the regular old cold and flu season.
So when scientists actually went looking for the evidence, the toxic chemicals, the lab-confirmed pathogens, the surveillance agents, what do you think they found? Absolutely nothing. The data all pointed to a much, much simpler conclusion. It was just weather. Plain and simple.
Which brings us to the real question at the heart of this whole Fogvid 24 story, right? If the science was so clear, how did the myth get so powerful? Why were so many people so ready to believe in something, well, something way more sinister?
To answer that, we really have to dissect the mechanics of how these stories spread in the first place. It's time to look at the anatomy of a modern myth.
And really, the formula is almost deceptively simple. Step 1, you start with a really striking visual, right? That eerie glowing fog. Step 2, you slap on a sensational caption that hints at some hidden danger. Step 3, you serve it up to an audience that's already kind of primed with anxiety and mistrust. And then, Step 4, the frictionless share button does all the heavy lifting, spreading the story instantly with absolutely zero verification required.
Experts, especially anthropologists, actually have a name for this kind of thing. They call it modern folklore. And it's the perfect term, right? It's basically the 21st century version of a campfire ghost story. It's frightening, it's captivating, and it feels just real enough to be believable. The only difference is, it doesn't spread by word of mouth. It spreads through our social networks.
And we absolutely have to remember the context here. We were all coming out of a global pandemic, right? A time of massive uncertainty and isolation.
A lot of us were already on high alert. We were kind of primed to believe that invisible threats could be lurking in the very air we breathe. So a story like Fogvid 24, it just fit perfectly into that anxiety that was already there.
So all of this leads to one final and I think pretty crucial question about the role that we all play in this whole ecosystem. So let's ask ourselves, are you building legends?
When you really boil it down, the story of Fogvid 24 was never actually about the weather. It was a story about us. It's this incredible case study in how we process fear, how we try to find meaning in things we don't understand, and how, through the lens of social media, we can turn something totally ordinary into something extraordinary.
So here's the thought I want to leave you with. The next time you're scrolling and you see an evocative video, one that gives you that little jolt of fear or outrage or even wonder, just pause for a second. Ask yourself, what's the real story behind this? And maybe, just before you hit that share button, ask yourself one more question. Am I part of the legend building?